Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and today I heard that Wizards leaked a whole bunch of cards as spoilers from the Aether Revolt set. And as soon as I heard the news, I was just like, whoa! And then it was just too much. I had a stroke, and then the ambulances came, and why more than one, I don't know. And then I got to the hospital, and I died like 15 times, but then they were able to revive me, and they were like, oh man, you read the spoilers again too, didn't you? You're the fourth person to stroke out. Wizards really needs to calm down on their excitement level and their hype level because it's working too well. It's affecting people to way too dangerous of a degree. People are just getting way too excited about every last little single individual card leak. So when they release like more than 4 at a time, people's heads just explode and they stroke out. Boy, whatever marketing company told them that they should slowly leak cards over time because it's just a maximum amount of excitement buildup, they hit the nail on the head all right. I mean, honestly, with the pre-release about 2 weeks out, I would probably just leak 25 a day for about 8 days and leave it at that. I think that adds up somewhere around that number. All right, let's jump back into it, although I will say that the leaks I've seen so far, the spoilers, are completely discouraging. They're just like, oh, well, that breaks Modern. Oh, well, that looks like it'll be a riot to play against. Oh, that card's hyper powerful but still loses to a turn 4 Emrakul, which honestly I could say about every card I've seen so far. And then the best yet, oh, that makes one of the tier 1 standard decks even more powerful and unbeatable. Seriously, it's just going to be one deck just dominating. That's what it looks like. So that sucks. Also, I still have a massive sore throat and I'm super stuffed up from being sick. Ugh. Why'd you have to leak these today? Why? For time reasons, in this video, I'm going to hit the rares and mythics, and in the next video, I'll hit all the rest. First up, Gonti's Aether Heart, which sounds like a really dumb movie. It costs 6 to cast, and when it enters battlefield, you get 2 energy, and it does absolutely nothing. It does have an activated ability though. You pay 8 energy and exile it, which that's what keeps it fair, and then take an extra turn after this one. So whether or not that'll be popular, I don't know. People like to see take an extra turn. They're like, oh my god, that's like warping the format of Magic, and that's like not something that would normally happen. Whoa. But honestly, extra turns aren't that powerful. I mean, they're very situational. It's nice to get an entire turn up on your opponent, but this costs 6. I mean, honestly, it'll probably be like turn 10 by the time you get this out. Although, there are ways to cheat this onto the field and stuff, but would it really be in an energy deck that could reliably generate energy? Probably not. Would you really want to drain your energy reserves when you're just going to spend your extra turn probably filling it back up because you actually needed the energy counters? It's kind of hard to say, unfortunately. Now, the big thing is stuffing your side of the battlefield. That's huge. That's what an extra turn is for. Either that or your opponent was an idiot and just suicide blitzed you, and now you get to hit them back twice and they have little to no defense. They have like no remaining tapped creatures. You get to spend your mana twice and you get to draw an extra card to get 2 combats, but that's about it. I mean, there's nothing that special about an extra turn. The biggest benefit, like I said, is packing your line full of creatures. You get to spend your mana twice, just throw stuff out, and that might by itself swing the battle. The funny thing is, though, if you spent 6 mana to throw this useless do-nothing piece of crap onto the battlefield, you lost that turn. You just gave up that turn. You could have spent that on putting creatures on the battlefield. So I know this looks good, and it's a mythic, and it's colorless, so it can go in any deck, but I don't see even people with energy playing this. I mean, it might like set up a pummeler, but he wins on like turn 4 anyway. It's really counterproductive to pay 8 and then generate more energy with that turn too, so I don't think this is really going to be above $5. Next up, we got something pretty crazy for energy though. It's a 3/4 for 1 elephant, the green belt rampager. This is pretty wild. So at first glance, you look at it and you're like, oh my god, it's better than Tarmogoyf. And theoretically, if it were left at that, I would say yes, because it costs 1, and it's reliably a 3/4 regardless of anything else. Although becoming a 4/5 or a 5/6 is a little bit more important, a little bit more powerful, but arguably you could say a 3/4 for 1 is an elephant Magoyf at least. Unfortunately, there's a little drawback, and it's not even that big. When it enters the battlefield, you pay 2 energy. If you can't, not if you choose not to, if you can't, return it to its owner's hand and gain 1 energy. So then you can cast it again, fail to pay it, and then generate another energy, then cast it again, and now you finally got it. So as a standalone card in a non-energy deck, you would have to pay 3 for a 3/4, and it doesn't have trample or anything. So that's like the starting point. But here's the problem. Just off the top of my head, there are 3 ways to get this out on turn 2. A 3/4 practically guaranteed to be on the field if it's in your hand on turn 2. I mean, okay, now it's definitely Elephant Magoyf again. So I'm definitely going to call it Tarmogoyf Jr. Here's the thing, so everybody's going to run out to throw this into their modern deck, right? Because it's one step up from Tarmogoyf. Wrong! Nobody uses energy. That's the brilliant part about self-contained mechanics. They're annoying, they're stupid, they limit what you can do, and they limit what you can build, and their modern usefulness is just nothing. But it does keep stuff like this out of modern while letting it be in standard, and that I think is brilliant. So overall, I kind of like the card. I think it's a little bit too powerful. I think it should have been like a 3/3 or maybe like a 1/6 or something, something not quite as capable in combat. But since they did make it capable in combat, here you got the art and the flavor text. So that's pretty awesome. So overall, I don't mind this card. I think it's kind of neat. Next up, I do mind this card, and I don't think it's neat. I think it's a disaster. It's a complete catastrophe for Modern. Although I do think it's a small part of what I think Wizards is very sneakily doing to Modern, and it's what even I thought that they should do, but that's part of another video. So this is a Metallic Mimic. It costs 2, it's a 2/1, and when it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. So that's the thing. You literally just name a creature type off the top of your head. Now, it becomes one of those in addition to its other types. So it's still an artifact, a creature, and a shapeshifter. So very easy to blow up because artifact destruction or creature destruction could kill it, but, whatever. Now, other creatures you control of the chosen type enter the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on them. Holy crap. Oh, they reprinted a snake version of Hardened Scales too, by the way, just throwing that one out there. So I feel like, potentially, without looking up the exact deck list, you could probably throw this into Merfolk as is. And just imagine Merfolks with a counter as well as their passive boosts. I mean, that's crazy. If anything, this would be like a toss-up that's as good as another Merfolk. Last time I played against Modern Elves, though, oh my god, would this help Elves? I've never seen Modern Goblins, but I would think that would help. If they wanted to print this card correctly and keep it fair and keep it out of Modern, because honestly, this probably just helped out like 15 different decks in Modern, which... I don't think it helped any tier 1 decks, so it's like, okay, as long as it doesn't do that. Anything else that they elevate to tier 1, it's going to piss some people off, but honestly, it's been so stale and boring, they might as well. But if they wanted to print this card correctly, they should have said, choose a creature type among all the creatures on the battlefield, then one would have to be out. Then you'd introduce a sequence to it, and this couldn't be the first thing on the battlefield. That would be just enough of a limiting factor that I think people wouldn't play it. It would still be perfectly appropriate in standard, though. Well, especially with all the artifact fetch, I mean, come on. The other thing they should have done is said non-token creatures. In fact, that they not even just for Modern, they just should have done that, period. The third thing that they screwed up with this card is they should have said you cannot choose the type artifact. I mean, honestly, that might still be a ruling, but the way I'm reading it, you could say artifact. Oh, now every servo comes out as a 2/2. If you have the snake on the field, every servo comes out as a 3/3, starting on like turn 2 or 3. Well, 3 I guess it would be if you're using the snake. Like, how outrageously stupid is that? Plus, if you're one of the people who's lazy like me and represent tokens with dice, putting counters on tokens is incredibly annoying because you either use large dice and then slightly smaller dice, or you start like taking cards out of your sideboard and playing them, face down, and then, oops, you accidentally shuffle them into your deck or something. Or you could actually play Magic the right way and use the damn tokens. But I think we all know that deck boxes only hold about 75 cards, and that's that. In general, I should say. So overall, just a poorly designed card, but I think they had a very specific purpose in mind. They want to basically mix up Modern a little bit. There's like 12 cards that have been spoiled already that are just devastating to certain Modern decks. Like, they make them so overpowered, they might as well have just called them Eldrazi 2.0. This is definitely one of them, so get ready for the takeover of tribals in Modern. I think this card is just barely powerful enough to push them up just enough to be competitive. And honestly, Merfolk were pretty damn competitive to begin with. Now naturally, since Wizards of the Coast is in America and the vast majority of their customers speak English, they released this one in a different language and left it up to us to translate. And of course, one tiny little word wrong would throw off the whole card, so thanks for that, Wizards, very helpful. But we wanted to be multicultural. We're a global company. Great, print it in English too then. Release it in fact, what the hell? Release all the spoilers in all the languages. Like, it's not like you don't have the digital copies of them. Just release them all. That's just being lazy. There's like, oh, we're being pro multicultural and we're supporting our friends in China and Japan and Korea, whatever the hell language that is. If that was true, you'd release them all in their native language, and in English, and in Spanish, and Italian and French and German and Russian. I think they dropped Portuguese, but let's be honest, so did the world. Anyway, I gotta look back up what the hell this damn thing does. Allegedly, it's maybe called Peacekeeper Colossus, nobody really knows. Cost 3, it's a 6/6. Holy crap, but it's actually a vehicle and you gotta pay 4 to crew it. So that takes it back down to like, reasonable, appropriate vehicle. Here's the fun part though, you pay one generic 1 white, no tap. Another target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So in other words, crew a vehicle. Now, for the, sake of triggering, you don't literally crew it. Whatever, that'll be confusing, I'm sure. So for 4 mana, you can crew 2 vehicles, and for 6 mana, you can crew 3 vehicles. Assuming that another is a correct translation, and that it translates correctly into the English syntax, that would mean that it can't crew itself, which would be logical. Unfortunately, this isn't legendary unless it is and they translated it wrong. Or maybe catching on to why I think this is a little bit of a problem. Anyway, if it's not legendary, put 2 out there, crew each other, boom, 12 damage. It's not terribly likely you'd end up with 2 of these in your hand in a game. It's naturally somewhere around like a 10 to 12% chance. But with all the scry and fetch and free casting, it actually probably could be done. I could see the new mechanic, I'm just going to keep calling it Convoke because that's what it is. I could see that and vehicles with no intention to naturally crew the vehicles actually be like a real deck. I would definitely have to mix red though. Now vehicles right now are at very good levels, so the only thing keeping them from being overkill is the fact that you have to crew them. I mean, they're gigantic, their power and toughness is way above what they should be naturally if they were a creature, but you have to crew them. So that was like the trade-off. So what they do, they just printed 2 cards that broke it. You don't have to crew anything anymore. In fact, I think there's like 3 or 4 cards technically. I think there's some from Kaladesh that are like, oh, just go pilot this. I think those only work for like 1 turn though, but now there's ways to do it recurring, so that's just stupid. So yeah, I think this is pretty broken. The fact that you can get it out there for 3, and then the fact that it might be a 6/6 if you can crew it, oh, that is just so bad. Plus, if you saw the new red enchantment, this is now a 9/6 first striker for the rest of the game. Oh, and it maintains that ability too, by the way. Man, Standard is going to be so stupidly broken. Now, ironically, it's like broken like 15 different ways, so at least you could say the deck variety is high, but I don't like this turn 4 the game is settled crap. I don't go for that. If I wanted to do that, I'd play Modern, so I really don't like the look of the state of Standard right now. It's actually a complete disaster, so let's just keep reading these. SRAM, Senior Edificer. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card, because why the hell not at this point? Oh, was Smuggler's Copter not powerful enough? Here you go. In fact, screw it, draw 7 cards every turn. We're playing Blitzkrieg, why not? God, whoever designed this garbage, I mean, the heads need to roll over this set. Oh look, it's SRAM again, SRAM's expertise. Is he dead yet in the storyline? Oh, I wonder what he's gonna do this time, some overpowered crap? Yup. Pay 4, sorcery, create 3 colorless servo artifact tokens, which I'm sure at this point would be like 5/5s or something. And then you may cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Additional costs also have to be paid though if there's a secondary cost. Throw that one in there. But yeah, you don't have to pay for anything in this new set, so why the hell not? Everything's free. In fact, you just go get it out of your library and plop it on the battlefield for free. Why not? Next up, War of Invention. Or as I like to call it, literally an exact photocopy of Court of Calling except with artifacts. Seriously. it's the same card. So triple blue, it's an instant, same mistake that they made with Court of Calling. It should have been a sorcery. Everybody knows it. This has Improvise, which is fake artifact Convoke, except you can use non-creature artifacts, so it's better than Convoke. So it's actually a more powerful version of Court of Calling, except, nobody plays blue in Modern. In fact, yeah, that triple blue just officially disqualified this from Modern. I mean, it would be a real stretch if anybody plays this. Well, you know what Cord does. Search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less, then put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So on the surface, this looks just completely stupid because you would pay 5 to go get your choice of 2-cost artifact and then plop that onto the battlefield. What the hell's the point? Here's the problem. You could just pay 3 for the spell, have 6 artifacts on the field, and go get a 6-cost, like a Gear Hulk, which I think a lot of them actually cost 5. That's not good because there's a lot of mid to kind of high artifacts that have crazy ETB effects. So this is automatically just broken and stupid. Anything that says put a card onto the battlefield without paying its mana cost, that's just broken. Absolutely broken. The fundamental way that Magic the Gathering works is you have to pay for things. That's, kind of a little bit of a limiting factor keeping the decks from going completely mental. Well, all that goes out the window because between free spells and free creature casting, oh boy, there's got to be at least 10, maybe even as much as like 13 or 14 cards that will be legal in Standard. That's a little messed up. And if you think I'm wrong, I mean, Goblin Dark Dwellers, Torrential Gear Hulk, don't forget those, I'm counting those. Anyway, next up is Free Jam Regent, another dumb waste of space. Oh, look, we put Improvise on something else. Who gives a crap? So, costs 6 to get out. It honestly costs 2 to get out because everybody knows you're just going to pay for the 4 with the Improvise. And it's a flyer, and then you can pay 2 mana to pump it to attack. So, it's kind of like a chunky version of, what do they call that? Fire breathing or whatever? I just call it traditional red pump because that's what it is. Now, if you had the mana in the first place, you just overpaid for a crappy creature with the exception of the next turn you're going to swing with 10 damage. Minimum, because you obviously had the 6 to pay for it. But then if you improvise it, then you can't use its best ability, and you still got a 4/4 flyer for 2, though. So in either case, it's kind of overpowered, but not like completely mental. The really bad part would be if you have the mana and you have the artifacts. Then your opponent's in trouble, but then it would be pretty late game and you've got an established board presence. So this is borderline appropriate, but still kind of flirting with overpowered. Kind of describes most of the cards in this set. And I did not think that was the last one, but apparently it is. Unless I missed one, I probably did. So I would say, in my professional opinion, that knowing 37 out of the 184 cards from Aether Revolt, we can officially declare it a raging dumpster fire. It's going to drive people away. It's too powerful. Everybody loves playing with powerful decks once in a while, but that's what Modern's for, okay? This is not Standard. This doesn't look anything like Standard in the last 3 years that I've been playing. Overall, it just pisses me off, and I already don't want to play Standard, so awesome. Well, I mean, coming off of the sheer power of BFZ and Allies, which is just game-dominating tribal, they had to step it up a little bit, so they did even more powerful control-heavy tribals, because honestly, Allies had, no control. It was just hit the gas combat. And then they went from there to Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, which just crushes everything. Absolutely crushes everything. You don't even need to pay for your spells, but everything references energy, and everything references vehicles, and everything references artifacts. So if you want to play with the new, slightly more powerful ones, you need to only use cards from Aether Revolt and Kaladesh. So it's like really sneaky power creep, except this time around it's not sneaky at all. We can all see that this is powerful as hell. And I don't know, it might be kind of fun, but I'm, using the only metric I know to measure this, which is how fun is Standard right now, according to everybody in that Twitter poll they just took. The average score was about 2.3, maybe? I mean, it was grim. And everybody said it was ruined by the top 3 decks being too powerful and too unbeatable, too hard to disrupt. So what they do, they built, 8 more. Like, Planeswalkers are going to be completely out of control. Vehicles, red-white vehicles, and even just mono-red vehicles, completely out of control. Green energy, to an extent, completely out of control. And there's one deck type that I don't even want to spread yet, okay? It's been seen on X-Mage very, very rarely, and it's spreading really slowly. But there's a couple cards in Aether Revolt that take it from virtually unbeatable to literally unbeatable. Like, not only did this one guy on X-Mage beat every single deck I had in a row with this deck, but I couldn't even think of a deck to build or even a concept that would stop that deck. So if you guys think that the 3 decks that are popular right now, Delirium and whatever the hell the other 2 are, oh, I know Turn 4 Emrakul is one of them. I know that's one. Oh, hell yes. If you think those are unbeatable, oh, just wait till this one becomes popular. I'm not going to help spread it, though. I'm a little bit against net decking. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. And yeah, technically it's a rogue deck right now, but it's definitely a future net deck. It's basically a Aether, whatever the hell, reservoir deck where it gets to 50 life and then wins the game instantly. There's now, from what I saw, 2 different versions of it possible, 2 different ways to go with it in Aether Revolt, and both of them, I can't even name a card that could even stand a chance in hell of stopping this. You could give me 40 copies of Naturalize and 20 Forests, and I couldn't beat that deck. So there's for sure contender number 4. And then the Planeswalker decks, you know, with the cost reduction and all that, and the fact that the Planeswalkers from the Planeswalker decks are better than their counterparts, which is hilarious. That ain't helping anybody. So at least we'll see some variety, but I do not like the power level. It's power creep. And the worst part of it is that means Amonkhet is either going to be even worse, where you're going to get like a 6/6 creature for 2 or something, or it's going to be so much worse that it won't sell at all because they'll have to reset the power. They'll have to come back down and then wait like a 1.5 to 2 years or whatever for Kaladesh to cycle out. And honestly, then Amonkhet would go with it if I'm remembering that correctly. Because I think Amonkhet's release will cycle out BFZ and Shadows and their 2 accompanying blocks, or sets in the blocks. So then with the new 1-year cycle, Kaladesh would have to take Amonkhet with it. So that sucks. That's why you don't do power creep, everybody, because at a certain point you either have to reset it and piss everybody off and take a gigantic financial loss, basically print Dragon's Maze 2.0, or by this time next year, we're going to have a 1-cost 2020. Oh, and all the spells are free and there's no more lands and just broken OP garbage. There's a name for that, actually. It's called Pokemon in Yu-Gi-Oh! I just saw a Pokemon card that does 300 damage. 300 damage! That's kind of a lot, you guys. Now, the cool thing is, by the year 2020, we'll be able to just actually play against a Pokemon deck because, you know, 200 attack power and 300 hit points, you know, defense on the creature, perfectly compatible. And then by 2025, I'm sure we'll be able to play against our Yu-Gi-Oh! Friends. I can't wait. I'll see you guys next video.